What if I told you that nearly 15 centuries ago, a mighty empire from Africa ruled parts of Arabia? That Ethiopia, or more precisely, the Aksumite Empire, once launched a massive military invasion across the Red Sea, crushing Arabian kings, seizing strategic ports, and briefly becoming an imperial power on 2 continents. This wasn't just any war. It was a clash over faith, power, and control of one of the most valuable trade corridors in the ancient world. Today, we journey back to an age forgotten by most, a time when Ethiopian warships cut across the Red Sea under banners bearing the cross, when war elephants thundered across Arabian deserts, and when the fate of Yemen would be decided not by Arabs or Persians, but by an empire from the highlands of Africa. This is the story of the Axumite conquest of Yemen, a story of ambition, faith, and a fleeting African dominion over Arabia. To understand why Ethiopia invaded Yemen, we must first understand the rise of Axum itself. By the 3rd century AD, the Kingdom of Aksum, located in what is now northern Ethiopia and Eritrea, had grown into one of the world's most powerful empires. Roman merchants spoke of it with awe, calling it one of the 4 great powers alongside Rome, Persia, and China. Axum's lands stretched from the fertile Ethiopian highlands to the golden beaches of the Red Sea. Its bustling ports, Adulis and Massawa, buzzed with traders from as far as India, Persia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean. Gold, ivory, frankincense, and slaves poured into Axum, making its kings among the wealthiest rulers of late antiquity. Axum's position along the Red Sea trade routes, the vital artery connecting the Roman Empire to India and the riches of the East, made it a commercial superpower. But it was not merely wealth that set Axum apart. In the early 4th century, under King Ezana, Axum embraced Christianity, becoming one of the first empires in the world to officially adopt the new faith, even before much of Europe. Ezana's conversion, guided by Syrian Christian missionaries, created deep religious ties between Axum and the Byzantine Empire. By the 6th century, Axum had become a staunch ally of Constantinople, a Christian beacon at the southern end of the Red Sea, and a thorn in the side of non-Christian kingdoms surrounding it. It was this fusion of trade supremacy and religious zeal that would propel Axum toward its destiny across the sea. Across the waters, a different storm was brewing. The Arabian Peninsula, then a patchwork of kingdoms, tribes, and mercantile cities, saw the rise of the Himyarite kingdom in Yemen. By the early 6th century, Du-Nuwas, a Jewish king, seized power over Himyar. While Judaism had long been practiced in Arabia, Du-Nuwas took a hardline stance, viewing the spread of Christianity in his realm, encouraged by Axomite and Byzantine missionaries, as a direct threat to his rule. In 523 AD, Du-Nuwas unleashed a devastating campaign against Christians in the city of Najran, massacring thousands, men, women, and children, for their faith. Those who escaped fled to the coasts, sending desperate envoys across the sea to Axum and further north to Constantinople, begging for help. The Byzantine Emperor Justin I, embroiled in conflicts against the Sassanid Persians, could spare no forces for distant Arabia. His eyes turned south, toward his steadfast ally, the Christian kingdom of Axum. The emperor's plea found ready ears. For the Axumites, the massacre at Najran was more than an insult. It was an attack on their brethren. For King Caleb of Axum, a devout Christian and ruler at the height of Axumite power, it was a divine summons to war. Caleb vowed to avenge the martyrs of Najran and to bring Yemen under Christian rule. But he would not send a token force. He would unleash the might of Ethiopia. Caleb's preparations were monumental. Axumite chronicles speak of an army numbering as many as 70,000 soldiers, a colossal force by the standards of the time. It included elite cavalry, hardened infantry from the Ethiopian highlands, and perhaps most fearsomely, a corps of war elephants trained to break enemy lines. The logistical challenge was immense. Thousands of men, hundreds of beasts, siege engines, and supplies had to be ferried across the choppy, treacherous waters of the Red Sea. From the great port of Adulis, fleets of massive dhows and warships set sail under the command of General Ariat, Caleb's most trusted commander. Across the water, the shores of Yemen loomed. The Christian banners of Axum flew high over the decks, billowing in the salty wind. Beneath them, soldiers armed with spears, swords, and shields murmured prayers for victory. As dawn broke one morning in late 523 AD, the Axumite invasion force landed near the city of Mocha, modern-day Al-Mocha, famous centuries later for its coffee trade. The invasion had begun. Landing near Mocha, the Axumite army wasted no time. Beachhead was secured with discipline and precision. veteran Axumite infantry quickly building defensive perimeters while cavalry scouts rode ahead. General Ariat, a seasoned commander, understood the terrain would favor rapid movement. Before Du Nuwas could concentrate his forces, Mocha, a bustling port at the edge of the desert, fell within days. The merchants and local rulers, fearing the fate of Najran's Christians would now be their own if they resisted, opened the gates. Ethiopian banners rose above the city walls, signaling to all Yemen a new power had arrived. From Mocha, Ariat marched inland, moving swiftly along the coastal roads that wound toward the Himyarite heartlands. Du Nuwas, realizing the threat too late, scrambled to muster his forces. His Himyarite cavalry, swift and ferocious, attempted to stage ambushes in the rocky passes near the coastal plains, but they found themselves facing not isolated detachments, but the full force of a highly disciplined, battle-hardened Axumite army. At every encounter, the Axumite wore elephants, beasts clad in armor, towering above the melee, shattered enemy ranks. Horsemen who had once dominated the Arabian deserts were scattered in terror before the unstoppable beasts, trampling men and horses alike. Town after town capitulated. The strategic trading cities of Aden, Zabid, and Taiz either surrendered outright or fell after brief, bloody sieges. By the time the Aksumites approached Zafar, the ancient Himyarite capital perched in the rugged Yemeni highlands, Du Nuwas's situation was desperate. He mustered what forces he could, tribal levies, loyalist cavalry, and the remnants of his royal guard, to make his final stand. The battle for Zafar would decide the fate of southern Arabia. As the Aksumite host approached the city, Du Nuwas fortified the mountain passes and the stone defenses of Zafar. His warriors, knowing what awaited them should they lose, prepared for a battle to the death. For 3 days, skirmishes raged along the outer defenses. Himyarite slingers and archers harassed the Axumite columns, launching raids under the cover of darkness. But General Ariat, adapting swiftly, ordered the war elephants to be used as living battering rams. Protected by screens of infantry and archers, the elephants smashed through outer barricades and forced the defenders back toward the city walls. On the 4th day, the Axumites assaulted the city itself. Heavy Axumite infantry stormed the gates under covering fire from ballistae mounted on carts. Ladders were thrown against the walls. Defenders fought back fiercely with boiling oil and stones, but the numbers and discipline of the Axumite soldiers proved overwhelming. Inside the city, the streets turned into slaughter. Cornered and desperate, Du Nuwas gathered his remaining bodyguards and attempted a breakout toward the coast. Accounts diverge on his fate. Some chronicles claim he attempted to flee by ship and drowned in the Red Sea. Others tell that his own men, facing the inevitable, killed their king to spare themselves further destruction. Whatever the truth, by late 523 AD, Du Nuwas was dead, and the Himyarite kingdom collapsed. The cross once again flew over Yemen. Victory was complete. With the fall of Zafar, Axum established direct control over southern Arabia. Caleb, ruling from afar, appointed a trusted Axumite Christian governor, Sumyafa Ashwa, to rule Yemen as a client state. The churches destroyed during Du Nuwas's persecution were rebuilt. Bishops from Ethiopia and Byzantium were installed. Trade resumed along the Red Sea. For a brief, shimmering moment, Ethiopia controlled one of the most strategic crossroads of the ancient world, connecting Africa, Arabia, India, and beyond. The trade routes flourished once again under Christian stewardship. Spices, gold, ivory, silk, and incense passed through Ethiopian hands, enriching Axum's coffers further. But beneath the surface, trouble brewed. The local Arab population, proud and fiercely independent, resented foreign rule. Ethiopian garrisons became targets of guerrilla attacks. Tribal leaders who had bowed to Axumite power began plotting in secret. Sensing weakness, an ambitious Axumite general stationed in Yemen, Abraha al-Ashram, seized the moment. Initially a commander under Sumyafa, Abraha rebelled, defeated his rivals, and crowned himself king of Yemen, while still professing loyalty to Christianity. Though he nominally ruled in Caleb's name, in reality, Yemen was now independent of Ethiopian control. King Caleb, disappointed and disillusioned, abdicated his throne, retiring to a monastery. Ethiopia, though still powerful, had lost its grip over Arabia. Abraha would go on to become a legendary figure in Arabian history. Under his rule, Yemen remained a Christian kingdom, independent yet prosperous. Abraha rebuilt churches, strengthened ports, and maintained the Red Sea trade routes. But Abraha's ambitions stretched beyond Yemen. Arabian traditions tell us that in 570 AD, Abraha assembled a mighty army, including war elephants, and marched northward to the city of Mecca, then an important religious and commercial hub dominated by Arab paganism. His goal was to destroy the Kaaba, the sacred shrine, and redirect pilgrimage and wealth south to his Christian kingdom. The campaign, however, ended in failure. Accounts differ. Islamic tradition records that divine intervention, in the form of flocks of birds hurling stones, annihilated Abraha's forces. Other historians suggest disease decimated his army before it could reach the city. Whatever the cause, Abraha's march ended in disaster. This event, known in Islamic tradition as the Year of the Elephant, holds profound importance. It is the year traditionally associated with the birth of the Prophet Muhammad. It marked not only the beginning of a new religious epoch, but also the beginning of the end for Ethiopian influence in Arabia. After Abraha's death, Yemen descended into turmoil. Axum, already weakened by the loss of direct control, found itself isolated. The Sassanid Persians, exploiting the chaos, launched their own intervention. By the late 6th century, Persian forces occupied Yemen, and Ethiopian influence in Arabia vanished. Shortly thereafter, the rise of Islam in the early 7th century would reshape the Arabian Peninsula and the world forever. The Aksumite Empire itself, though it would survive for centuries, began a long, slow decline. Cut off from the Red Sea trade by the expanding Islamic Caliphate, Axum turned inward, its once mighty cities slowly succumbing to time and neglect. Today, the story of Ethiopia's conquest of Yemen remains largely forgotten, a footnote in the broader narratives of empires and religions. Yet it stands as a powerful testament that for a moment, an African Christian empire ruled the gateway between two worlds. It is a story of ambition and faith, of fleeting glory and inevitable decline. A story worth remembering.